you know, even though you get 6 different sounds on this guitar, I think he was probably more thinking 4 sounds, you know, this pickup full, and then when I do my clean, I just do there. And the push-pull pot thing is a love 'em, hate 'em thing for people. In context of a song while you're playing, how fast you can switch positions, it takes a bit of practice. But that said, for the way this guitar is, there's nothing in your way around the controls to stop you from doing the push-pull pot thing in the switch. So it is pretty quick. So it's ergonomic that way. Whatever. Obviously no neck dive off of this guitar. It's a PRS, so it's, well, you know, it's properly designed. The horn's as long as it needs to be. The comfort level of playing it is really, really, really good. It's really, really good. Very, very heavy guitar, very mahogany, sustainy kind of guitar. But with the ebony fingerboard, you get that depthy, bright, kind of almost natural sculpted mid kind of sound out of the ebony fingerboards with their, you know, brilliant highs on it. I just love the sound of it. It's a very beautiful combination of tone woods and stuff like that. I know some people are not for the tone wood thing. When you're playing clean, yes, you do notice it. You get the pinginess off of it without the twang. So it is a tight sounding guitar. You would think with a 26.5-inch scale length, that'd be really twangy, but because of the heavy gauge because of the heavy gauge swings, it's not. Strings, can't speak today. Okay, so I've had this guitar for a year. Now, before I bought this guitar, okay, so in 2019, I decided to go from, now that I'm 50, okay, I had decided to go from a guy who plays, you know, classic rock, hard rock, you know, Maiden, Led Zeppelin, Maiden, Guns N' Roses, Van Halen, you know, Ozzy, that kind of stuff, which is like 80s, 90s metal rock genres, you know, Poison, whatever, that kind of stuff, extreme, to, hey, look at all these cool metal bands coming out with the symphonic metal and stuff. Nightwish, another cool band right from Italy is Frozen Crown. Love that style of music. Some of the German bands, Fürschwanz, I'm sure I'm butchering the name. Bastard from Asgard. That guitar player, I forget what I looked up his name. It's I forget what it is, but anyway, that's got to be the coolest looking guitar. You remember how cool Slash was the first time you saw him? You know, with the top hat and all that, you know, with the rocker look, with the, you know, whatever. Well, the guitar player from Fürschwanz, however you say it, that guy, just, that's the coolest look. And he plays like Framus guitars or whatever, not to get too far off the track, but the sound, it's the sound. And then, of course, you've got like bands like Periphery. They do crazy stuff. I'm not the biggest Periphery fan. That's the funny part. But when I saw how the guitar was designed and watched all the Mark Holcomb videos and stuff like that on the guitar and how he really backs his product, you know, he plays these guitars live, and you'll see footage of him playing them live. The only thing he does different with his SEs, he says they're bone stock, except for he swaps out the tuners for locking tuners. And the reason why these don't come with the locking tuners is he wanted to make the guitar at a price range, right? So there's that. So I've got that. I've got this one, and I've got the 6-string, which is in drop C all the time, and other crazy tunings that I tried. I haven't, be honest with you, done a lot of crazy tunings. I'm hoping this year to get a, because I'm still experimenting with crazy tunings on the Holcomb 6-string. Hopefully you guys can see it there. Which that review will be next month for the 1 year. So will my bass playing review. That'll be either, next month as well. For the 1 year on the bass. But with this guitar, like, I compared it to all the other 7-strings on the market, and it just seemed to be the best bang for the buck. Because there was a lot of 7-strings that were still 25.5-inch scale, which I have tried 25.5-inch scaled 7-strings. They suck. They're easier to play, but they suck. Why? Because you don't get the baritone sound. You do get that extra string, but there's not enough tension on the string. And what happens with the short scale, yeah, it's easy. It's kind of like a training wheels for a 7-string, but I say go big or go home. You know, like this idea of buy a cheap guitar and then buy a medium guitar and then buy another expensive guitar later on. buy your cheap guitar, right? Let's say you're just starting to play guitar, and obviously this guitar is not really for a beginner. Yeah, it'd be fantastic for a beginner to learn on, but you know, for the money, no. You know, because if the guy doesn't stick with it, it's a lot of money down the tubes, right? But we'll put it to you like this. Let's say your first electric guitar, you had the budget and you bought, say, an Ibanez Geo 7-string, you know, the base model, $300-400, right? And you got used to it. Well, the first thing you'd want to upgrade is the scale length, because even though the scale, you'd be fine on this, you know, from E to E, once you get to that B, it'll be the same as my 8-string at 26.5. My F sharp and my B don't have enough tension on it. And my E and my B have too much tension on it. So in 2019, I bought the 8-string before I bought the 7-string. But what I've realized is, I think, now mind you, I haven't tried any fan frets, so but for straight, you know, parallel frets like that the whole way, I think 7-string is as far as a guitar could practically go and maintain even tension on each string. Because that tension is really what's going to give you the clarity. If you don't have the tension, it's just flubbiness, right? You lose all the liveliness out of it. Now, this guitar is extremely tight sounding. It's a monster. Any chance I get to play the low B, you know, power chord, like a low, I guess it would be an 11 chord. Let me think about this. Yeah, it's kind of like an 11. It's an 11 or a 13 chord that I play there in the B, you know, and it just it's the Kongzilla sound, as I call it. Any chance I get to hit that chord, like it shakes the walls. It's just so savage, right? I just love it. You can't get that with the shorter scale length. Now, that said, I did adapt to, it's taken me about 6-8 months to adapt to the 8-string where I could play it fluently, where my muscle memory doesn't, you know, constantly resort back to 6-string guitar positions, right? So, for example, I go to hit an A minor on the 8-string, and I end up playing E flat because my hands just tell me to go to the middle of the guitar neck, right, of the fretboard. Just go right to the middle because that's where it is on the 6 strings, right? And when I go to hit like a D minor on the 8-string, sometimes I'd be hitting God knows what kind of chord that was, right? And with the 7-string, I didn't have that problem. The 7-string, it seemed like it, you know, like, I mean, there was like the width isn't so much what, or the length wasn't so much what got me. It was the width, right? But with the 7-string, it because I'm used to playing 12-string guitar necks and stuff like that, bass necks, everything like that. The thing I found was that the width of the guitar neck made more of a difference to me than the scale length. That said, once I got used to the width of the guitar neck on the 8-string, when I got the 7-string after, it seemed like it was just the fine enough adjustment that it was a lot easier to play. And I was a lot more accurate and stuff like that. And I'm not a beginner player. I've been playing since I was 5, right? So it didn't mean I wasn't playing the guitar, the 8-string well. It just means I had to work a lot harder to do it, right? Well, this guitar, you still have to work hard. It's not going to be like, say, the 6-string Holcomb or the Jackson Flying V Bactor or my SGs. It's not going to play as easy as that because of the scale length. So you do have slightly higher than normal string tension from a 6-string on all strings. But with the 7-string, unlike my 8-string, you can bend the, even though it seems pretty high now, mind you, these strings are pretty deadified. It seems like it doesn't feel like you're playing an acoustic guitar, but it does feel a bit heavier for bending and stuff like that. So for sweep picking, bending, and really fast shredding, you're going to work a lot harder to keep it clean. That said, one of the upsides of the higher tension on the strings is that you can really dig into the note a lot more. So it's kind of a vine and a vice. Yes, it will always be easier to play 25.5 scale or 24 3/4 Gibson scales, the easiest scale in the world to play. But you'll never get baritone knock the walls out of the place kind of sound until you go to the baritone, right? You know, so 26.5 is just going to always, like this thing's in standard tuning and it sounds heavier than this guitar in drop C at 25.5 inch scale. That's just 1 inch difference. The other thing is that obviously for really big chords, I'll show you what I'm talking about here. Yeah. Where are we going to put, yeah, I'll just use Mark Holcomb. So when I'm playing like really big chords, okay, on this guitar, I'll give you the Joe Satriani, Always With Me, Always With You, strange B chord. It's the most majestic chord I know. And then you got to do a switch from there. Then going back to it. You got to work really hard to get back there smoothly because you're just stretched, or on 25.5 you'd be an inch in, right? And you could do it fairly quick. But on this you're 26.5, so it's you know, so just be aware that the chords are going to be a little bit trickier, but yeah, so in that sense,